Is it really big or it's pretty?
Hey, Steve, just on time, just on time. Hey, good evening, folks. Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting for the 24th of October. Whenever you're ready, Chuck. Whenever you're ready.
Football game's over, Chuck. You can.
Sorry, Mr.
Steve,
Chairman.
you gonna join us up here, or?
Oh, this is our meeting.
This is not my office.
Been a long day.
My cheese.
Welcome to the Finance Committee.
Thank you, thank you.
Is this thing on?
We're having a good time tonight. All right, so our meeting agenda here for the 24th of October. Yeah, hard to believe that with 71-degree weather out there. We're going to have a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen and School Committee. Looks like you guys have a quorum for both, right? Public input after that. Financial dashboard discussion, which we've got, finally got a version out there in your packet. Member updates, minutes, and then we'll adjourn. So why don't we kick this thing off? Mr. Chair of the Board of Selectmen, Mr. DeCoste, do you have anything you'd like to review? Would you like for us to review it first, or how would you guys like to proceed with this joint meeting?
Mr. Chairman, your meeting. We're just going to play along nicely in the sandbox. However,
Okay,
what
so
want-
we can get whatever we want?
Motion to adjourn.
To the pub? As amended.
Got it. Okay, why don't we walk through, I think you guys did a review last night,
did,
and
Bonnie.
Bonnie presented, so
Bonnie did.
want to just touch on that quickly,
Sure,
Bonnie?
sure.
And we'll work through it.
You all have the memo here that I reviewed with the board last night. Basically, as we start the 2019 budget cycle, while the department budgets aren't due in until the end of this month, we know that there are things that are on the horizon that will likely appear in the budget requests and have been, some of them for several years. So we wanted to take a look around. I did call some of the departments to see, what their thoughts were, that they were crafting their budgets and what their asks would be. So I have this list I'd just like to walk through with you. The first one is the facilities director. This has been an ongoing interest in the boards to explore some coordination between towns and school departments to have a one-person facility director to kind of do the planning work, be preventative rather than reactive in our addressing the building needs. So this is something that we've talked about for about as long as I've been here, and that's 11 years. So if we look at that position, at a grade 12, which may or may not be the right grade, it's about $80,000 a year plus benefits, which would be about another third to 36% on top of that.
Benefits including OPEB.
Yeah. Any questions on that one?
Board members? Any questions, comments?
For discussion.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
operative interest there is to include school buildings. Is that something you guys have thought about?
Yeah, I mean, we've been on record, as Bonnie has said, this has been an issue that's been kind of bubbling near the surface for many years. And our position is that we are certainly see the benefit. The really would come down to just working out the details and trying to figure out how best to make it work so that we get the full benefit of spending that kind of money. But there's no reason why we wouldn't want to be part of that discussion and try to figure it out.
Good, thank you.
Fields too? The facility?
I mean, right now, the fields are under the highway department. If the town felt like that wasn't the right way to go, we'd certainly be willing to have that discussion.
Alumni Fields under the highway department?
You said fields.
Yeah?
The
Yep.
fields are under the highway department. Alumni Field, that facility is under the school department. But the bulk of the spending that we do on fields is under the highway department. And the bulk of the manpower required to maintain them is under the highway department.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, yeah, and that's fine, but I don't, a softball field that's out by itself, I don't feel it was a facility, but Alumni Field is a facility, right? it's just a
Yeah.
question. I mean, is that the
But
thought?
I mean, it is a facility. When you said fields,
Yeah,
you have the high school fields.
Yeah.
You have the fields over by
Right.
Russell Street that are
Right.
used way more than alumni fields used when you think about the number of hours and the number of feet to cross those fields. So when you're saying fields, that's the highway department. The alumni field facility, which I don't really think of as a field, I think of it as a facility,
Facility,
not a
okay.
field,
yeah.
that's under the school department right now.
So that would roll up to this facilities director as well?
We have to have those kinds of discussions. I wouldn't presume to make that assumption right now. But if the town felt like that was the way they wanted to do it, when you think about the amenities building and maintaining the amenities building and being proactive about maintaining it and thinking about roof replacement, all those types of things, absolutely. You know, if that's the way we want to do it, we'll have that discussion. In terms of usage of the field, I don't think we're asking the facilities director to all of a sudden take over the scheduling of fields. Then I think that would be something we would continue to retain responsibility for. Just as we schedule the auditorium, we schedule the gyms, you know, all those other things. I think that part of it we would probably retain, but maintenance and things like that, again, we gotta have a discussion and figure out as a town and as governing boards how we wanna proceed, but I don't see any reason why we can't come to terms on what works best for the town.
Do you have any other comments?
I have a comment.
Yes.
You know, speaking from a PMBC perspective, I think this facilities director would be invaluable for us to work with as far as PMBC, to, you know, preventive maintenance is gonna save you a lot of money anyway. So to have somebody come in and review our 20-year needs assessment and identify whether there are additional needs to that, or if these needs are, the 20-year needs assessment that was done by EMC, get his take on it. So I think this is a step in the right direction.
What's that,
Just one comment, dating way back the Town Government Study Committee, we talked about 10 years ago, most of what was put in by that committee has been adopted or put into place, but one of them was this position that has never taken place, so even 10 years ago was recognized as something that should be happening.
I recall those conversations.
We did have, at one point, several years ago, we did hire a facilities director, but I don't think we did a very good job of explaining what we wanted the facilities director to do.
More funding.
And so that position went away very quickly, so.
So we need to make sure it's funded properly, we need to
Funded
make
and-
sure we have it well-defined
job
as to what they're
description
going
is
to do with the job.
what we all agreed to.
Yeah, are there currently roles and responsibilities?
There is no job description
No job
drafted for
description.
this,
Okay.
so that would be part of this process. And then we'd grade it and figure out what the salary really is.
And that would fall under the personnel?
The job description would be graded by personnel, but the position itself would likely fall under the town administrator.
Okay.
Well, the town bylaw in 2007, which strengthened the position of town administrator, for whatever reason, put the title job facilities director under the appointments of the town administrator. But that was Joe's committee, the town government study committee that did that. There have been no recent discussions about how that would work, and that very much needs to be on the table. If there's going to be such a position, how it gets managed, especially if it's municipal and schools together, that needs to be to the mutual satisfaction of the schools and the town. And we would need to talk through that.
Okay.
We're also okay.
So who's championing this? Usually these things don't come out just in general, there's somebody actually pushing for this. Is that,
So I'll step in here. It's been talked about, as Bonnie alluded to, for a number of years.
Yeah.
And in going through the exercise of trying to come up with, you know, what could be down the road, Anthony, I think you initially had said that, you know, there's PMBC is an all-volunteer board. They do yeoman's work, they meet twice a month, but in that 2-week period between meetings, sometimes things have to be signed off on, warrants have to be signed, and sometimes things have to happen more quickly than they're able to happen through the process that we have in place now. Bonnie, I think you said there was something in the vicinity of $100 million worth of buildings right now that we have under our custody and control. So there's, I think, a justification now with the funding behind it. I think that was, Alan, you talked about having this position before, and it just didn't work out. That person, we budgeted for that person's salary and benefits. We didn't budget for that person to execute or to give them any charges, whatever. Shouldn't have any.
You wasn't in
authority.
charge of an operational budget, so.
Right, so, it was doomed from Jump Street. The one thing that we did have some conversation about last night is the fact that $80,000 does not include benefits, and we need to look at that, and, you know, I had a couple conversations with Mr. Wilson, that's unfortunately not here tonight, but, he's been able to educate me on what the true cost of a full-time employee costs now. And it's not 80,000 plus X per year, it's extrapolated out over a number of years through the retirement process, and we're in a, you know, decent position getting a handle on those numbers as a town. So we need to be very cognizant of every full-time position that we put on the books and what the impact is to us long-term, not just over the
I
course
agree with
of
that.
this budget cycle.
Just want to
Mike?
make one other point, kind of circling back to what Keith said. As we determine who supervises that position, and it probably would be a blend of, you know, there's responsibility for town buildings and school buildings, and as we come up with the responsibilities and what we expect out of that position, it could have a cascading effect on how we budget. There could be money that's under school control right now that we use for things that this position would conceivably take care of, that we might decide as a town we wanted to move back. You're right, you know, we don't want to necessarily be taking it out of two buckets.
Right.
So it's going to be a fairly complex and detailed discussion, and it's got to get done correctly. That instead of we're just going to make the same mistake we made the last time. The intentions will be there, good intentions, but the execution will be poor, and then there's no benefit. So I think it's saying we want it in a broad perspective. I don't think anybody disagrees. The question is, how can we best do it to make it worthwhile?
Makes sense, okay. So what are the next steps then, at this point?
In the budget, we will have a request for it, and it will be deliberated through.
Through the process, okay. All right, any other comments on this one?
I'll just throw out there, and we can say it now, we can say it at the end. I mean, this is, we're looking at possibilities right now, and these are things that we want to present now, early on in the process. There's no way we're getting everything that we're wishing for, but we just want to make sure that it's out there and we can have that you know, educated conversation and
And I appreciate
Oh,
that,
sure.
I think we all
Absolutely.
appreciate that. It's good that you're coming forward with this now, so we can at least put it on the radar. That's something we'll probably add to our financial dashboard and at least keep an eye on it, so, yeah, it's good, thank you. Okay, let's, if there isn't any other comments, let's move on to the roadway pavement management.
Basically, Chris Stoddard, since he's been brought on board, has done a fantastic job about evaluating our existing infrastructure. He's already produced some savings in our roadway maintenance plan, so it's great having him on board. I just wanted to get that out of the way. But he did take a look at the high school roadway system, and that includes the parking lot areas up top. It's about 20 years old. It was, you know, installed prior to the school being open, of course, but it's in need of repair.
It's been 20 years.
That's what I said. No way.
Almost.
Yes way.
Rounding a little bit, yeah, close.
Bonds being paid
we went
off.
through the same thing last time. Really?
So initially, when I drafted this memo, I had a phone conversation with him, and he said, you know, it's going to be in excess of $500,000, but the people that he was talking to hadn't come back with some hard numbers yet. It's closer to $1 million to do the repairs that really need to happen. It can be phased in. It doesn't mean that we have to do this all at once, but it is close to $1 million repair. And it does include the upper parking lots and all those driveway areas and the curbing. So there's a lot involved in this particular project. If you don't do the repairs and we don't do the maintenance, and there's been no maintenance done since it was installed, you know, the repair is going to be double in short order. So that is kind of one major one.
So it's really not a repair, it's pretty much a replacement.
It's not a full reclamation, but it's, you know, there's a lot of work that needs to be
Yeah.
done.
And they're going to reconfigure the curbing up in the front of the school?
I know the curbing was one part of the
Yeah,
All
component.
impervious, including curbing.
yeah. I mean, this has been on PMBC's radar,
Right.
but, you know, we just don't have the funds for it.
So would you view this as part of the roadway plan that we have now, where we pick, these are the highways, and this is the priority of what roads we're gonna deal with, this is gets it up in the priority, or this is just an addition to whatever else we were doing anyway?
So this is something that he would like to augment the existing roadway budget to address. And again, not all at once, but, maybe phase this in so that
It
we
says
can
2
start.
years, that's not, not all at once, but.
Maybe 3. Might have to be 3 at $1 million. But it is something that, he would like to include within the roadway.
So who provided the $1 million estimate?
I can't remember what engineers he was consulting with.
Green or,
It might have been Green, because he uses Green quite a bit. But I don't know.
generally who we use?
Yeah, but
It needs to get done, it's good to have it on the list and have the discussion. It's
it's
just-
damn rude for that.
School committee, any comments on it as far as the
Or
condition or anything that you guys are concerned about?
It's something that needs to be on our radar.
Okay.
Obviously does need some repairs.
Just similar to what Chris is doing with all of our roads, he's trying to put a process in place where we do preventative maintenance, and in some places, we're doing a full micro spray, and sometimes we're doing the rubberized squirt fog sealing. So there's different processes he's using, and he wants to include this, thank you. He wants to include this in that plan so that we don't get to a full reclamation. Full reclamation would cost 3 times what we're talking about.
I think.
Or what
It's a
have
lot
you.
of,
Not
it's a
really.
lot of pavement up there.
It's a lot of pavement up there.
Okay. Board members, any other thoughts, comments?
No, this is about a year's worth of road repair in a normal run rate year.
Cycle,
That's
yeah.
about $1 million a year, plus or minus, is what we've been spending when there hasn't been a huge road job. So if we could spread it over a couple of years, obviously the pain would be a little less, but it's gonna impact something.
Yeah, it's a pretty big nugget there. $1 million is a good amount of money. So, okay.
Okay, highway parks. So, while we did add a full-time parks employee this year, both field maintenance studies, or both studies that we commissioned recently, both the Collins Center study that looked at just the highway function, and the recently completed field maintenance study, both state that we need additional staffing beyond the one that we've added. So the most recent study recommended an additional 2, which again would be about two FTEs would add about $90,000 in payroll plus benefits and OPEB and the long-term costs. The other thing that study identified is an overall expense of $250,000 to best address the annual maintenance needs of the town fields. So we do have some funding in place across several departments to include the schools, the highway, park and rec. But we do need to augment this in order to better address the field needs. As an example, we spent, about $50,000, between 30 and 50 on the highway fields, the high school fields, just to get them into playing order. And resting them, helps a lot in improving the conditions. We're looking to just start at maybe a $100,000 increase in the appropriation under fields for highway to expend for the supplies and the services, mostly contracted services, that are needed to keep the fields in good standing.
Excuse me, you said we already spent like 50 grand.
30.
30.
30, well, I thought I heard 50, maybe
I said between 30
my
and
years are
50.
going bad. So is this 130,000? Because she said she was good, when you said it, you said you were gonna add 100,000.
No.
So are we talking 130, we're talking 100?
100,000.
100, okay,
Correct.
okay.
The 30 was actually approved as kind of a year-end transfer to do the repair, so it wasn't in the budget to begin with. So we're looking to add 100 in there just to start tackling these.
So here you talk about contract services and so on. I'm thinking about if you have full-time employees, do we have things for them to do all winter long? I mean, there's
Yeah,
some,
they
yeah?
switch from fields to snow.
Yeah, but
to-
sometimes there's not snow, so it's just a question, right?
There is not enough field maintenance crews.
No, I understand that, but you don't want to pay somebody full-time if you don't have work for them to do. I mean, we want to make sure. That's what we all do, right? Before you spend my money, you want to make sure that we're.
But there's a lot of sanding and salting that goes on
There's-
too, and you don't realize that, just because it doesn't snow out, you might get a
I
little
know.
ice out there, and they have to run out there. and-
Full-time, I know.
And there's tree service, and
Tree work.
there's a lot of
Okay,
other work that
alright.
isn't done.
All right, just asking.
They do the repairs to the equipment in the winter that, you know, they're very good at scheduling their seasonal tasks.
Wish list.
I also think last night Chris mentioned that he had plans to do as much of that, to the extent that there was an opportunity to do some of that in-house, that he very much intended to do as much of that $100,000 worth of work in-house as opposed to out-of-house consulting, contracting services. So he is, I think, developing the capabilities to deal with some of these things that don't necessarily exist right now. But as Bonnie said, he also indicated that we would need some outside support to do this.
Does this tie in with the field maintenance MOU as well?
It does, but before I comment on that, just because we have a point of reference with that $30,000 that was spent to renovate the high school field
Yes.
that was shut down, and if you go up there now, it's absolutely, it looks beautiful. It's pristine, it's being watered, it looks fantastic. Very much appreciate everyone coming together and approving that, getting that money spent. We did go outside with contractors, Diamond Field Service or something was the name of the contractor that came in and did that. We had to go outside at that point because we didn't have the equipment in-house to do what they did for us to get the field to where it is today. That probably, if we had the equipment, that probably would have cost us somewhere between $10,000 to $12,000. So there's, what are substantial savings? A lot of that work that Chris is talking about doing, keeping in-house as much of it as he can save us anywhere from 50 to, 2/3, 50% to 2/3.
As long as you got the equipment and the manpower, right?
Right. So,
Makes sense.
but as far as the field maintenance, I would say that we'd probably, I don't know that we'd die on the hill for 2 full-time employees, but I think going for 1 full-time employee, seeing what comes out of the use of alumni is going to take a lot of, there's a lot of field maintenance that doesn't have to be done at alumni, that will give Chris some of those park employees time back. Nothing has to be painted on that field. That took a lot of time to stripe. In the fall, there's
You're
3
talking about
different
alumni?
sports at alumni.
Yeah.
When it was natural, when it was grass. That doesn't have to be done now, doesn't have to be mowed now. So there's maintenance that has to be done, and there's training and whatnot that has to go on with that. But with the addition of 1 person, based on the study and based on what Chris feels as though his needs are, I think that we'd be able to take a look at it a year down the road to see, okay, was 1 enough? If 1 wasn't enough, then, but 2 might be too much. To Betsy's point, if we do say, yes, let's go ahead with 2 full-time employees, and then we're just trying to find stuff for these people to do, and they're sitting around leaning on a shovel, people aren't gonna be happy. Why are you spending my money that way?
That makes sense.
So,
Okay. So back to the MOU for the field maintenance, has there been any progress made on that?
yeah, we're in the red zone, I would say, wouldn't you?
Are we kicking a field goal or are we going for a touchdown?
We're setting up for an interception.
We're running the ball.
We're taking a knee?
No, don't go there.
Sorry, it's sports analogy here. So you're in the, what, do you have a timeline as to when you think it might be done, or?
I think first of the year for sure,
Yeah.
but probably sooner.
It'll definitely, yeah. Our intention is to have it done and ready to execute, because there's a lot more things that the MOU impacts in the spring and summer than in late fall and winter. So the goal would obviously would be to get it done so that we're ready to rock and roll as we get out of winter into it. Really, we could almost finish it any time we wanted now, it's just the impetus is a little less because of the time of year. And we've got other things to think and talk about, right, but it's right there, and it'll get done well before we need it for the next busy season.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion on this item with the highway and parks? Board members, anything?
No, this is another one. We paid some consultants a lot of money a while back to tell us this is what we needed, and we never did what they told us to do, so we, clearly it's needed. Do we need more people for the field maintenance or for the highway department to do this stuff? I mean,
The Collins report, yeah.
I don't remember which one it was, I think one of these ones, again, we paid somebody a lot of money, we said, oh, that sounds good. So,
And then we just went through another cycle with.
and then, you know, other things happen, you know?
The study, which also identified,
Right.
reinforced the Collins study.
Okay. Let's move on to the stormwater piece, Bonnie.
Sure. Chris Stoddard's also identified that this fiscal year, we're going to need to add 2 seasonal engineering positions to address the stormwater permit requirements, mostly GIS work, going out marking where the locations of the facilities of the infrastructure is. It's cheaper if we hire 2 engineering positions that are seasonal than if we contract it out. It's much cheaper. It's estimated it would be 16 weeks between May and August for the 2 positions, so it would be about $25,000 plus minimal fringe because they're seasonal employees. So there wouldn't be any benefits per se, like health insurance.
This has
Is there a
nothing,
pension obligation with seasonal? No, there
As
isn't.
long as
right?
you keep it
Okay.
to the 16 weeks.
Okay.
This may be able to be funded through the Clean Lakes budget. That we're using that funding, and we have been for the last 2 years to meet the stormwater needs, so we'll have to monitor that as we go through the budget. But if not, then, we need to address it. It's one of the requirements of the MS4 permit, so we don't want to fall behind on that.
this
What's the
has nothing to
likelihood
do
of
with the
being able-
position.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
This has nothing to do with the positions, but have they figured out a way to collect revenue for this requirement?
Like a stormwater enterprise?
Yeah.
That is one of the options that's available to the town. Most of the communities that I've dealt with around here are loath to the idea of having another utility permit and are trying to manage it within their own resources. Some have been more successful than others. Some larger cities, and there's one we talked about a few months ago, that did initiate a stormwater permit fee, and it was not well received, but, I think it was like Chicopee. I want
Okay.
to say it was like Chicopee that
He doesn't have any
instituted it.
money, yeah.
I think we're probably several years away for needing to consider establishing a stormwater enterprise fund or something that's funded by fees. Among other things, the permit that we're enforcing is being held in abeyance for at least a year. Federal EPA has agreed to a stay. The new MS4 permit, the municipal stormwater permit that EPA issues has been stayed for 1 year. With the way EPA is going at the federal level, it may be longer, we don't know. We operate under a 2003 stormwater permit, and we're complying with that. But the significant ramp up in requirements under the new permit that's being held in abeyance still haven't kicked in yet. So even the money this year that we've set aside, we appropriated $100,000 from the Clean Lakes Fund. We're not going to spend all of that this year, so we could roll that over to next year. So I would think at least it might be just a couple of years before we know what the new rules look like, to see if EPA is enforcing it, and what does that look like on the ground? Are there such expenses that we have to, levy a fee in order to comply with it? But we're not there yet, thanks to the money that had been set aside years ago from cell tower fees for the Clean Lakes program.
You good? Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have one, I'm sorry, I'll wait until the end, because I've just got some numbers I put together here, questions.
Okay. The next one is dispatch. Chief King has identified the need, again, to hire an additional dispatcher to better address the increasing demands in the department and the call volume. There's one particular shift that he has that is a very busy shift. And often the dispatcher is fielding multiple calls to try and better address it. We're also taking on the ALS component, and that will include involving dispatch in that also. It was requested in this fiscal year cycle, but it wasn't approved, so he is requesting it again. The estimated cost is about $45,000 in salary plus fringe, including OPEB and health insurance.
With these numbers that you're sharing with us in this report, it would be helpful to have the actual dollar value to those benefits added in there.
We will have,
So
this
we can
this was
see
a
that.
high-level overview. The budgets are not in yet, so these may change and will likely include newer things. These are just kind of ideas that have been out in the horizon. Once we get them in the budget, you'll have the fringe costs and everything associated with it.
Yeah, just, because it's kind of a little misleading, because we know that there's a lot of cost behind the
Yeah.
benefits.
Yeah.
You just
Again,
look
this
at,
was
well, it's
just-
only $45,000, well, throw in the benefits.
These were
Benefits
just,
could be more than the 45,000.
yeah, these were just to try and get the boards thinking about what the priorities might be, and then we'll hone the details as we get through the budget.
Any other comments from anyone else? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could
Yeah, go ahead.
just swinging back to the stormwater one, just real quickly, just if we were to go with the seasonal contractors or whatever, they would be working under Mr. Stoddard along with Bond and Ty, who's the consultant that we're using for the stormwater project, so, for the stormwater permitting project. So just wanted to put that out there, that there would be some oversight by
Chris
Ty and
and-
Bond as well as Chris.
And it's a lot cheaper to have the, say, the interns do it from.
Yeah.
And they have Ty and Bond.
And they have Ty and Bond do it.
Yes.
They do great work, but they charge.
Right.
There's more.
That's what I was gonna ask, who are these part-time engineer, but they're interns basically, is that what that comes down to? Okay.
College engineering students.
Okay.
Send them out with a GPS for 3 months. And
Right.
Yep.
It's a lot
Yeah,
cheaper than
yeah,
having Ty and Bond.
everything.
That's good, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. That's how it
Makes sense.
Yep,
We
it does.
could have them pick up beer cans and pay for themselves while they're out there.
Multitask.
Right, it's only money. All right, let's move on to the fire.
Okay, so the fire, this is also an item that's been on the request list for a couple of years, probably 3 or 4. The department has a 30-year-old ladder truck that is aging as we speak. It's at the end of its service life. The repairs are becoming frequent and significant. Even just in the last few weeks, we've had some big issues. I'm sure the chief can elaborate on that. The repairs have been difficult to manage. Again, it's an aging piece of apparatus, so everything is customized. It needs to meet the testing requirements after it's been repaired. The cost at this point to estimated to replace the equipment is about $1.25 million, depending on what type of apparatus you order. Chief, I don't know if you've got anything to add, but.
No, it's just, again, as Bonnie said, it has been in the capital plan for the last couple of years, and for obvious reasons, you know, we've pushed it off with the facility and everything that's been going on. However, year by year, I think we're up to about 13,000 this year already just in repairs on that truck alone. We had some rung damage, and then when the deputy went to pick it up, they pulled it around the building, and one of the main hydraulic lines had let go as they were driving it around the building. Hydraulics on that ladder truck have been an issue for many years, and now it's just, it kind of got to a point where it's incredibly significant, and we continue to put good money after bad. And again, this year, we're already up to about 13,000, and you know, we're not even halfway down this fiscal year on that truck. We will hit well, I shouldn't say we will. The way we're dealing with issues on that truck, we may get to a point where it's just not worth doing those repairs.
It's kind of like the domino effect. When one hydraulic hose goes, the next one goes, and they just keep
Absolutely.
going. You might as well
Yeah.
replace them all. Yeah, got it.
I was gonna say, maybe just don't let the deputy drive the truck.
Still under their purview.
That's the only perk you
I
get.
didn't want to drive it back anyway, it's a horrible truck to drive back from Connecticut.
Any other comments, thoughts? No?
The only thought I have is, I don't know what other, I don't buy fire trucks all that often, so I don't know what other trucks are available to us, what other options are available to us, how often do we need this level of service from, you know, do we need just a stick, do we need a boom, with the cannon on top, and, you know, there's only so much research one can do on Google, how much it ladder truck costs, so.
You need to check eBay to see.
By you.
Check eBay? Facebook Market?
We could get something used, yeah.
Amazon
Wood,
Prime.
you know?
Craigslist.
nail.
I think we all recognize the only real issue here is how do we fund it? It's coming up with a funding mechanism, because
It's a big,
we've recognized the need for this back 4 or 5 years ago, because we put it in the capital planning, and now it's the time for us to do something about it, so.
did you have another comment you had to hand up?
There are, you know, as Chuck brought up, that there are different trucks. There is a straight stick ladder truck, and there is a truck with a bucket in the front, called the tower. Over the last 2.5 years, a few of the guys, including the deputy, have done a lot of research on this, and really evaluating the needs of the department, the town, the change of the community, with the 4-story buildings going up, the apartments, the hotel. In all of the research, it just makes sense, safety-wise. We would get the most use out of going to that tower truck. So we're between $800 and $900 for a straight ladder, and like Bonnie said, we're just just over $1 million for the tower ladder. But the difference with that tower is you're talking a truck that 2 people could operate. You actually operate it from inside the bucket. You're allowing a good safety platform for the members to work off of when they're working at fires. If they had to do rescues, they could lift this platform up to, say, the 4th floor and take several people off of a deck or out of a window and safely put them on the ground without having to climb ladders one at a time. So it's a significant safety issue as far as the members working off of it, and when you really look at the big picture, over 30 years, it's a 30-year truck. For, maybe a couple hundred more, it's what it brings to you in safety is well worth it. But, yeah, it's not to say that we couldn't make it another 30 with a straight stick ladder and, make it work, because I'm sure we could. But we did do the research in that, and, we'd get the best bang out of it if we could get that tower.
And you feel pretty comfortable that it'll last 30 years if we get a new?
It's, depending on what they put down on the roads and what's gonna eat that truck from the inside out, yeah, it's the goal that it would be another, lengthy truck. Many years.
Any other thoughts, comments?
That's the average. That's the average.
25 to 30, yeah.
On the next one.
All right.
Sorry.
Transportation, I am going to defer to Keith on this, but the town has made a lot of progress in relation to MART and the MBTA and the last mile shuttle, per se, to the Common from the train station. And there's a lot of need for just transportation services in general. Our existing elder and human services van it's running all over the place, and it's just, there's a demand for it. Right now, there is some enhanced service being met through a grant through MART that will not be likely available next year. We know that if we offer the service, people will want it. It will probably be expanded on. The demand will be to expand upon it. So we're estimating about $100,000 just to start picking away at those service needs and to make sure that we retain the services that we're currently providing when that grant kind of goes away next year.
Just in general, I want to say a couple of things. First, that we're probably within a month or two of launching our first ever fixed route service, which would connect the Littleton commuter rail station with Littleton Common IBM. It's a partnership also involving the town of Westford, and the shuttle would also go down as far as Juniper on Technology Drive in Westford in the morning and in the afternoon rush hours. That's been approved by the Littleton Selectmen, by Westford's Board of Selectmen, and by the Montechusett Regional Transit Authority. They're in the process of, I was at a meeting today, a pre-bid conference, where there are a number of private firms who are interested in providing the service. In addition, the Crosstown Connect Communities, which is Acton, Littleton, Borough, Maynard, and Westford, plus Sudbury, and Concord is scheduled to join very soon. So we'll be up to 7 communities that are working together with their largest employers. Crosstown Connect routinely gets grants, a lot of grants from the state because it's a regional enterprise. $50,000 of a state grant this year is being made available for this to help go towards the cost of this shuttle service. We are hopeful that once we get on the road and people see it there, that I'm sure that people are going to say, well, how come it's not more frequent? How come you're not going to other locations? That we need to be ready. If you take from 10,000 feet, look at the master plan that was just adopted by planning board, by town meeting this year, that we spent 2 years on. There's a whole chapter on transportation, and in the top 3 among the top 3 goals for transportation are improving transportation connections between area businesses and Littleton's MBTA commuter rail station, and investing in improving transportation options for Littleton seniors and residents with disabilities. We're doing things with housing that are meant to make this a more livable community, to provide more options. Transportation is really a critical part of that, of having a livable community in Littleton. And it's also an important part of the economic development strategy. For those that were here back when on IBM's list, when they saw what they wanted in a host community, expanded commuter rail service, and a link between here and between the commuter rail station and their location in Littleton Common. The MBTA has come through famously with expanded service on the Fitchburg line. And now, as part of our partnership with the Baker-Polito administration, us holding up our end of the bargain is to meet that train and to bring it to the last, and to complete the last mile, which could also be a first mile, because we're talking with IBM and others about maybe the opportunity for park and ride locations since our own commuter rail station fills up. But in general, what it is, it's a recognition that there's a service level that we're about to get into the business with a fixed route service for commuter rail, that seeing that the communities that are very nearby, specifically Acton but also Maynard, are providing quite frequent service to their communities, and that can be a model for how we may want to approach the same thing. In order to address these transportation issues, we're going to need to put some money on the table. And so, as part of identifying potential goals, I wanted to make sure that we had this one in front of us: the transportation, carrying out the transportation recommendations of the master plan will require some commitment of funds, but it helps to support the needs of the community, and if we do it right, it supports the needs of the businesses as well.
So this 100,000 is a number that you estimate. Is this just to cover the fixed route shuttle at this point?
It would be enough to cover. It would be enough for us to, I think, expand the commuter rail shuttle to more frequently during the day, and to also pilot a program to expand for whether it's to have an internal route that goes to the point. I followed up with Sam Park today, a discussion that we started at the meeting last night. I would love to have the point be a member of Crosstown Connect, just as IBM is, Potpourri Group, many other businesses, since ultimately having a shuttle, one of the shuttle destinations would certainly be the point. Movie theater is going to be starting, opening next month. So there's a lot more activity there, and I think that we want to make sure that we have a lot of people at the table, a lot of businesses helping us make smart decisions.
Just,
Yeah.
so, in your discussions on options on that last mile, have you talked with, like, was it 15 Great Road, and then there's a big Avalon development, like
Yeah.
within 100 yards of each other?
Yeah.
As a housing area that could possibly be served by connecting to the commuter rail?
Yes, just on that one, I've already asked the town of Acton if they would slow down, if not stop. 11 times a day, the Acton shuttle goes up to the top of the hill to Avalon, Acton. And so 11 times a day, it's going past the back door of 15 Great Road, where there are two pedestrian footpaths. And Acton has expressed willingness, if we could put up a bus shelter or something, because it would be in Acton. The road is 40 feet between the edge of the paved width on the Nagog Park Drive and where the Acton Littleton town line is. So the place where the stop would be in Acton, but Littleton folks from that neighborhood could just walk over there. So that's one part of it, but and that's actually that's virtually a no-cost solution. We're talking with Neshoba Valley Tech about getting the students to build a bus shelter. So while that would take care of that, and there would be no subsidy involved from Littleton to take advantage of that service, we'd like to see what we can do to address the transportation goals in the master plan for other, throughout the town.
Yeah, I just think of people that either live there or even in neighborhoods like mine that drive to the train station
Yeah.
Right.
going to Boston. It's like there's a stop like 100 feet away
Right.
for Acton.
Yeah.
That would be a lot,
And it would
possibly
it'd take you to
desirable.
South Acton Station, that's a little cheaper for.
But it also gets them
fare.
home.
Get them home.
Right.
Get 'em home.
Right, just building on what Daryl just said, I know from talking to Elder and Human Services, the Human Services component of it, they do get calls for transportation from 15 Great Road. So there is certainly a need there for that, so I think it would be great. Beneficial.
It's a bit of an aside, but similar. Is there any discussion on putting sidewalks from the train station up to 295 or 305 Foster? Because somebody is going to get killed on that street. Chris and I drive up there 3 mornings a week, right after the train, passes, and there are 2 or 3 bicycle people heading up to the factories, and probably another 3 to 4 walking. And it's right at the time when everybody who slept in is racing to get to the parking lots up there. And it's really pretty crazy. And I was just wondering if there's, any grant money or anything that could just, it's a fairly short stretch there that could potentially save somebody's life. I mean, it gets pretty scary.
Yeah, and we can, I will forward to you, just so you have it, that we had Chris Stoddard put together a master plan for funding complete streets improvements, which the board has approved, and it involves a program of submitting grant applications under the state's Complete Streets program for some, using town funds for others, and the big money that we're going after is through the state's TIP program, which we last got with $3.5 million for Goldsmith Street some years ago. But we are submitting proposals, including Foster Street, for $4 million in TIP funding. The preliminary application is just being prepared now. It might take a while to do it, and maybe there's some short-term things that we can do with, sending the highway out and take a and police and see if we can't make it safer in the short term. But we do have a master plan that's been developed with the idea of trying to get as much money as we can. We think Foster Street's going to be very competitive in state grant funding because it essentially tracks the route of what the shuttle would be from, around to the commuter's rail station to in town, so, but I'll be
Right,
happy
if
to
it's on your radar, that's great.
It's on the
but
it's on the
just-
radar, but it's still,
Take a run up there between 9:35 and 9:40, and you'll see what I'm saying. I mean, it gets a little bit crazy.
So if you're driving by there 3 days a week, I think if we invest in like 20 vests, and you can hand them out to the folks that are.
Hey, do it.
Well,
In the meantime.
to Fred's point, does the town own property that would accommodate a sidewalk?
Well, part of it goes under Route 2, right?
What's that?
Part of it goes under Route 2, so that would involve the state.
well, let's see, but if Foster, I would have to look at what the layout of Foster Street is, if we have enough space. I'm not sure where the right-of-way compares to the edge of the paved width there, but we can.
Or
look at
even
that.
talk to the owner of 295 and 305 and see if, he just, at least for the last 3/4 of the distance, can the town put a sidewalk on their property or something? I don't know. But, something doesn't have to be a big deal, but I can just see it.
Something to make it safer. I mean, we just put in Russell Street, that sidewalk was
Yeah.
$375,000.
Okay. Just
It
a
took
thought.
about 5 years to.
Good?
Last one on this
Last one.
list, professional development. Keep it going. Professional development. So the town operating budgets, like my own, most of them have association training or technical training. So I go to my auditors and accountants meetings and get the updates from the state and get all the technical information that I need. And that's in my operating budget. Most of the town departments have that, but almost none of them have any management type training. And what I mean by that is just direct management training, harassment, discrimination, any of the open meeting law training, conflict of interest, higher level training. We do have a small line item within the employee benefits line to cover the mandatory training. We have to do harassment training, we have to do conflict of interest and open meeting law updates. But even in that, there's nothing for management training or staff training. We have a lot of turnover, a lot of new department heads from retirements that have come up. We have retirements on the horizon, and so we're going to have a fairly newer management staff. We need to invest in the employees' training, management training, involving how, a lot of the new managers that have come in have never been department heads, so they might not have gotten that in their previous employers' history. So while we have 5,000 in there now, we think that we need to do some regular investment in these employees and getting their skill sets up. There's a demand for it. We get asked, Anthony can attest to it, we get asked all the time. So we think if we just bring this up to a more reasonable level that will address that, bringing it to an amount like 50,000 would allow for regular investment, regular training, consistent training going forward with these department heads. So we think it's important.
Is the 50 just for department heads only, or could it, if there was excess there, could you apply to other employees? Or is
Yes, it would just be, yes.
would just be there
For employee training.
employee training.
And it would be under the control of the town administration, so it wouldn't be in the operating budgets. It would be used for training, only for training.
So who would develop the training program? Identify which training modules? Would this be online training, or would it be?
It could be a combination of both. We've got kind of a few programs that we've eked out when we can do it that have been very helpful. There are a lot more modules, both online and off-site, locally, that work very well, but we need to develop that. Yep.
So Steve, the Massachusetts Municipal Association offers a lot of different training. One is a supervisory leadership development program. It's very popular. It's something that I did years ago when I was in Brookline. We were actually looking to send one of our department heads, but unfortunately we couldn't afford to do it, and it was only a $400 course. It's very valuable, of course. A lot of municipalities send their supervisors, new supervisors there, from DPW new supervisors to department heads too. There's also another program that I participated in is the certificate program, which is in conjunction with Suffolk University. So for 5 graduate level courses through Suffolk University, it only cost $2,000. It was a tremendous program. It's one that I did that actually made me jumpstart and finish off my master's degree at Suffolk. So what I learned from that and then the networking opportunities through that is invaluable.
Yeah, I attended a MMA training on Saturday.
Yes.
Where did that $45 come from?
That was from your membership fees, so you guys are members of the ATFC.
Thank you, Fred.
Anthony's talking about the Mass Municipal Association. You guys talking about mixed martial arts?
Yeah.
That's good.
Once in a while.
I really do believe in professional development. I really do. I think there's some value in that. I mean, where I come from, my job, they do it all the time. And investing in our employees is a very important thing to do. So I think it's something we should consider strongly. It's not a lot of money, and $50,000 in a fund, and if you don't use it, it rolls over to the next year.
It goes to free cash.
Goes to free cash, and, you know, I think it's probably a good investment in our employees.
I saw something on LinkedIn. The chief financial officer of a company was complaining to the COO. He said, look at all the money we're spending on training. What if we train these people and they leave? And the COO said, what if we don't and they stay?
That's a great question. This is really important for retention. We invest money in bringing people up to speed and training them to do whatever the job is, and then we don't reinvest in them to make sure that we retain them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways you can do that too. If they take all these classes and we spend a lot of money over a certain period of time, you expect them to stay employed. I mean,
Tie them up.
You can tie them up for a little while, either that, have to pay it back, or
Right.
something like
Right.
that. And there's ways to do
Doesn't
that.
sound like we're talking that kind of money, though.
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's not like you're paying for a full
$15,000 courses
MBA
here
or
or
something like
like
that.
grad school or something, but yeah.
So I'm sure that there are things that are going to come up that are not in this list. One that I, was mentioning last night was possibly under IT. I know we're adding a Tier 1 help desk person for Nancy, but she still has no backup for any of the major things that might happen. If the network infrastructure fails when she's on vacation, it's a problem. And we need to look at that just as a town. I mean, we should have.
So you're off
backup.
professional development now, and you're just talking general other
I'm just
things.
saying,
Okay,
other things that
sorry.
might
Okay.
appear,
I was trying to figure, how does that go
yeah.
with that, but okay.
Just might appear in the budget. And again, this is here not for you to really focus on the dollars, it's more of the priority. If the ladder truck is, as an example, the priority, we will give you a presentation of how that gets financed, and you can decide if, there'll be things that you have to give up to do that, but, we'll give you the plan, and then you can weigh in on it. But we really just want to get a sense of what your priorities are going through the process so that we can craft those plans and show you what the impact would be.
Thoughts, comments?
So, great to be in a position where we can be thinking about things like this. I mean,
Right, to be able to have a wish
Don't ever
list.
forget that, right?
Yeah. Right. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or plans or something that's coming down the pipe.
We'll have our capital priority list ready by the end of the month, and Steve Mark will send that over to Bonnie. We're getting our analysis done on, our first 2 things will be our projected increases in payroll for our current staffing levels, as well as what we expect for SPED. We do have to put our regular ed transportation contract out to bid this year, so that'll be on the list. And then the management team, school administration team is also looking at what their priorities are, if we could add what it will be, and we'll have those sometime in the next 4 to 6 weeks as well.
Great.
For the selectmen, that we have an opening for the Elder Services Director. Are you looking to replace that 1-for-1, or are you looking at an upgrade or a different grade individual, or for
The same
just from a
position.
dollar standpoint? I'm
The
just-
same position has been.
From a plan, I'm sorry?
The same position's been advertised.
Okay,
The
so
deadline's-
it's a one for
deadline's
one.
Friday, yeah.
Okay, okay, great, thank you. Anything else? Good? Okay, well, thank you for sharing all this information with us. Thanks for going through that, Bonnie, and appreciate you guys coming on a Tuesday night to share.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
before you
Send them
let
on their
them
way.
wander away.
I did have one other question for Mike, too, so.
While we've got selectmen here and the town administrator, would somebody give me about a 5-minute recitation on why we need a Littleton Affordable Housing Trust Fund? What it's going to do for us that we can't do the way we're set up currently? I read the relevant state law, and I've read the proposed bylaw, and I see that they're there, we give them money, and they can do whatever they want with it, and the first thing they're gonna do with it is spend it on advisors, accountants, appraisers, lawyers, which we already have all those guys. I just don't understand why there must be a good reason other than town meeting said, yeah, let's have one. That we're turning over funds to another entity that, once we give it to them and once we set them up, they're off on their own. Notwithstanding the fact that you're a board member, but
Well, just on the context for, again, I will point to my Bible, the master plan, and find that that recommendation to establish the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is in the top 5 list of things that we should do to address housing needs. It's coupled with the other package, the other parts of the package, though, specifically the inclusionary housing bylaw, which would require that developments under that bylaw either produce affordable units on site, which they would need to do if there are 20 or more units, or if they're less than that, that they would have the ability to pay into a fund in lieu of actually creating the affordable units. That will give some significant money for the town to be able to, I think, undertake development of affordable housing in a way that Littleton has not done, but many other communities have, including Carlisle, there's a smaller community than we are, and I'm bowled over with some of the great projects that they can do, and that other communities can do. It's a combination of taking the money from the inclusionary housing bylaw, which would come from the developers. Also, it's a use that you could put for the nearly $400,000 that we have on account and have not spent in the Community Preservation Fund for housing. We haven't known what to do with it. We haven't had a strategy. This gives us the ability to look at making strategic decisions about how the money should be spent to help develop affordable housing. It would allow the town to get into the business of supporting the development, the production of affordable housing with funds that are being made available for that purpose. Yes, there are lots of things that the money could be spent on, and it will be very important in seeding the members of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, that they realize all the support that already exists for them. In town government, there's no need for them to spend their limited funds on services that they can get from us, from the general budget, and I think that knowledge will help them focus on spending the money on housing, so that's.
That's your 5 minutes.
Question?
That's 5 minutes, yeah.
No.
thank you.
Just ask a direct question. Are you saying that we would have the money where the town would be building housing and running housing?
No, I'm saying that the town would be a player by being a source of funding for and I'll use the example of Carlisle and their Benfield Farms project. For a total of $750,000 total investment by that town, they produced a facility that consists of it's 26 rental units, age restricted for seniors, all rentals, and it's 100% occupied by either for various levels of affordable housing, but no market rate housing. It's all affordable. And being able to leverage, or using the funds to leverage purchase of the property, to have it, they were issued an RFP process where they selected the developer. The developer went after the significant state and federal monies that are available there, and then the town could use the additional funds to help support the cost of the development. Total cost of $750,000 for 26 units of really exquisite
But in the end, the town owns it, and the town's responsible for maintaining it and supporting it? Is that what I just heard?
No, it was flipped. It's a 99-year lease. It flips to a developer. The town is not in the business. The town is the entity without which it would not get built, but the town does not therefore go in the business of managing housing.
And those units are 100% count towards 40B inventory in Carlisle?
Because they're housing and because 25% of them are deed restricted at the countable level, all 26 units count on the affordable housing. That's good.
But you can't restrict it to people that live in town currently, right? Anybody can go there.
No, only 75% can be earmarked for locals.
That's not too bad.
Which
At least that's something.
That's
Yeah.
better.
They had a affordable housing trust fund, and this is what they were doing
Carlisle.
in Carlisle?
That's how they funded it, the $770,000.
Yeah, they use community preservation funds as the source, and that sort of development is something that an affordable housing trust fund can do.
So is there why would we look at
CPA.
using CPA funds for it? Because you get, what little match we get nowadays, but you get something versus
Yeah,
creating a
CPA
separate
funds
fund.
were a critical mass. I don't think that they have, and I'm not aware that Carlisle has an inclusionary zoning bylaw that would allow, an additional amount to kick in, but by Littleton having that bylaw, we would see a significant increase in the amount of funds that are available, and I think we could do some really great things with them.
Am I correct in saying that money can be moved through CPA funds into the Affordable Trust Fund to collect what limited match there is?
Yeah, you could. For example, the $350,000 to $400,000 that's on account right now at the CPA, we could put additional, we still have some remaining mitigation funds. We could put them into the blended CPA, earmark some for housing, recreation, other uses, and then have it go out for specific purposes.
You could
for
even
affordable
earmark
housing trust.
general funds from CPC, right? Because we're only, the legislation says a minimum of 10% has to be for housing. But any funds in the general side of it could go to any one of those four buckets.
Right.
So you could take more money out of the general fund and put it
Yeah,
Unrestricted.
unrestricted, yeah, the
Yeah, I'm talking
unrestricted
general
bucket,
fund, but
if there's money
unrestricted.
there, although there's
Designated.
awful lot of projects feeding out of that trough, though, so I don't know.
It's a
how
dog
we
around there.
compete, but.
All right, we good with that one?
Good.
I got one quick question, Mike. I know we did this in executive session, but is there any public update that you can give us on the teacher salaries?
No, we're still in negotiations.
Negotiations with the union? Okay. That's all I have. Anybody else? Anything? I think we're good. Thank you, guys. Thanks for all showing up. Thanks for your input.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, Bonnie, that took a little longer than we thought.
It just started today. It just started.
I guess we don't really have any public input, but I'll go past that. Look at the financial dashboard discussion. Yeah, I did a first draft. So it's in your packet. We're getting there.
Okay.
So I added in the few things that we've discussed, you know, with the estimated costs, some of them we don't know. Obviously, all these we don't know, the fiscal year impact, and then the latest updates. And it looks like we're gonna add a whole laundry list more to this, so.
Well, I think one thing that is looming is the library, because it's number 5 on the list of the state. Sharon voted against it, so we moved up a slot. If it doesn't come through in 18, it's gonna come through in 19. What's the town gonna do?
Well, if there are 4 on the list, it's gonna be the next
Next round.
Next
It
round.
would make sense that to me, it would make sense it would come up in 18.
because the first 9 were selected.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they're going to probably select at least 6 or 7 in the next round.
So whether it's 18 or 19, it's going to come up. So what are the where are the selectmen on it? Is there support? Is there not support?
Library?
I just,
Any discussion on the library?
we were just talking about the financial dashboard that we're trying to put together here. And I mean, a major program that's looming is the library / space needs for the town hall and seniors and the whole park and rec and everybody else. But I think what's likely to be the pin pulled out of the grenade is if the library gets or is awarded the grant. We've got the town has 6 months to respond, and the response is a vote of town meeting, either yay or nay. If it's nay, then it's nay, but if it's yay, what do we do?
Stuff happens.
You know, I think that's a real thing looking at us in the very near
Is that a
future.
2/3 vote?
I'm sorry?
That's a 2/3 vote, right?
So, I mean, it's I just want to make sure it's up on everybody's radar, that it's coming, and don't forget about it, because the last thing I want to have happen is the library folks come in all excited, got the grant, and then the town going,
There's no way we're gonna.
No, it's not levy.
you know, but I think at least there needs to be some open discussion on how we handle it, that's all.
The major projects that we've just taken on, the
Yeah,
fire
I mean,
station.
I've said that right along. If we get the grant, there's no way anybody's going, well, you can't throw that money away, then you're dead in the water.
You're gonna have
This
to do a
thing
debt
should
exclusion.
stop before it breathes.
Right.
So there's
but
a
I
couple
think
things that have to happen, right? We have to pass it at town meeting, it has to go on the ballot, right?
Yeah.
So you have to get 2/3 to get it to go on the ballot, and it has to go on the ballot, and it has to pass the ballot, so that's the popular vote, right? Majority vote. And in the event that that all goes through, and we're building a library on the hill, there's a whole lot of other stuff that,
Right,
to your
that's my
that's-
point,
that's
is
in-
that,
that's
you
in
know,
the
we
mist.
should be looking at in its totality if
Back
we
and that stuff
can.
behind that is, I mean, we can mothball it and not do anything with it, but once we start to do anything to it, there's gonna be some implications on what we have to invest to bring this entire building up to code.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
you tripped
it's
that
not-
30% ADA, and then the whole building has to be brought up.
Right.
And which brings to mind, well, never mind, I'm not going to say it.
That's fine. But I just want to make sure it's up in front of everybody, and not that, you know, I think the worst thing that could happen is the library folks do, you know, a huge amount of work, and they are, trying to get this thing through. And then they come in with, you know, with the grant, and then the town goes, you know, I think you need to at least be having the discussions, you know, whether it's,
So we haven't specifically had a conversation
yeah.
as the Board of Selectmen. Talk even this candidly, or this, you know, to this level. But it's probably a good idea for us to put it on an agenda as well. The library has been scheduled the last couple of our meetings to come before us because they want to do some fundraising and get permission to do naming of buildings and rooms and
All sorts of stuff, yeah.
Cases and whatever.
You know, they're out there in, you know, they're trying, but at the end of the day, does the town, how do we do it? If the town wants to do it, how do we do it?
Well, we have to follow the process, and that is to go through town meeting, and if it gets voted that we want to do a debt exclusion, then we take it to the voters. I mean, I don't see any other way that this is going to be funded.
That's all well and good, but to wait until they get the grant to start having those discussions, I think is not right.
Well, and I would say,
Because you know it's
It's like
coming.
watching the ping pong balls in the NBA draft.
Yeah.
What number's gonna come
Well,
up? When's it
but-
gonna come up?
That's
the
all I'm
fact that
saying.
it's not on this, I mean, and I know this was this year's money, but the fact that it's not here and it wasn't brought up tells me, you know, it's not probably a priority, or maybe that's not fair, but I almost read that in to the Board of Selectmen. But if it were, then one of the options on here could be some of this money gets put away because we expect the library to come, right?
That's a good point. I don't think, I can speak for myself. I
Yeah, right.
didn't put that level of thought into it.
Right.
But I do think that, let's say it does go to the voters, let's say the number comes up and it goes to the voters and it doesn't pass, something still should be done. I mean, there's still, it's an identified need to do improvements. And I think that there are things that can be done to the existing space to make it more accessible and.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to do the ADA stuff anyway, at a minimum.
Correct. So I think that we need to be, to your point, Betsy, I think we need to start putting some of that stuff on the radar and taking a look at it. So maybe I'll take it upon myself to reach out to the folks at the library and the trustees and say, hey, give us some ideas. I mean, you know, what should we be doing? Should we be earmarking some funding? And just like we're putting X number aside for this or X number aside for that.
Well, didn't we put some money aside, though, just town
Yeah, we
meeting
spent it on
for some repairs? Why am I thinking?
Oh, yeah, the elevator
yeah,
and the
yeah.
doors and that kind of stuff. Yeah, but that's, yeah, right, yeah, that's not.
And we did the third floor issue.
Yeah.
Well, and just recently, they're funding somebody got some funding someplace for the,
Accessibility in the lower level
Right.
floors.
There's some work that's being done there. I shouldn't
But
make
those are-
it sound like we're not doing anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's on the
No,
radar.
it's-
screen,
I'll add
because
it.
I appreciate
It's
it.
coming. You know it's coming, and, you know, how are we going to deal with it when it comes? That's all.
Correct.
You know, one of the seminars that I attended at this martial arts was,
Full contact budgeting, right?
it was called Buying the Big Stuff, you know, and they stressed putting a 5-year plan together. Now, you know, PMBC, we're working on a 5-year plan for, you know, what we're working on, but, you know, maybe, we certainly don't have a library on there, you know, that's not
And you have a line of sight to the things that have been brought to you.
correct,
You're not,
that's
you're not
right.
You're not looking at.
looking forward.
Well, you know,
It's more of a reactive thing.
we have a 10-year,
Well, no,
we
Yeah, we have a
have a
plan.
10-year capital plan.
yeah, sure we do.
But we don't normally put a new school building or on the capital plan either, you know, so.
Steve, I didn't mean that in a negative way. I meant, it's like if the schools say, hey, we're gonna need a roof at the high school in the next 5 years, that goes under your purview. So
Yes,
it's something
it
that's
does,
brought to
yeah.
you. You guys aren't proactively going out and saying, oh, we should really do this, and we should do that.
Well, we do have that 20-year needs assessment, and we look at that, and then we analyze it and say, well, you know, is it critical, or, you know, can we defer that, you know, famous deferred maintenance, you know?
But that plan's getting pretty long in the tooth at this point. right?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it really is, so.
Well, that's
You need a
why.
facilities manager.
Facility director, I don't
Thanks for staying, Chuck.
No problem.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Have a
Chuck.
good night.
Appreciate it. Okay, so I'll add, you know, this is kind of a living, breathing
Yeah.
document. I'll add this new
Yeah,
stuff
good
here.
idea.
I'll make sure the library's added in. If you think of anything else that
Well,
you want to
the-
get on there, we'll.
Well, the town hall space needs,
Yep.
whether, you know, if the library doesn't move, then what do we do? Because there still are space needs for some of the groups here. The field study,
Well, that's, isn't the MOU field maintenance, I have that on here. Building and site review.
But that's different
beyond
than-
the field
Oh, yeah,
maintenance.
yeah, yeah,
It's,
field.
These are new
You know,
fields.
there were
Field study,
some crazy number of dollars for new fields.
More fields, right?
Whether we need them or not,
Yeah.
you know, I think needs to be discussed and decided on. So I think those are just,
Yeah, we'll put them in there so that we keep them on the radar, and this
Another
helps us. to
big
see
ticket
what's-
item that's hanging around there, and has to do with the needs assessment in town hall, et cetera, is the little discussions going on about the entire operational group of town hall moving out of here to somewhere like Deck and purchasing that property.
It's true.
You know, that's another multi-million-dollar operation. So,
It's only money.
it's only money, but it's
It's our
becoming
money.
As long
large.
as it's somebody else, yeah, right.
Well,
Okay.
if
All right.
you guys think of anything else, just feel free to email me. I'll kind of keep it, the master of this thing, and I'll get it updated based on our conversations from this week, and we'll keep it moving. The other thing, I updated the document that you sent out. I emailed it to all you folks. Bonnie was nice enough to print off a copy. I would suggest, if you can, start making these appointments and meetings with the different departments so that we can get a feel for what's going on for fiscal year 19. And if we can get them done before our next meeting, which is on the 21st, I think it is, the 21st of November, that would be awesome. That way we can have it all kind of wrapped up
the
before.
budgets aren't due until next week, so.
Yeah, and then this way we can at least have maybe a little discussion about it in our next meeting before we have the all-day Saturday one in December. Kind of thought process there. Okay, I'll go to public input. Do you guys want to add anything? You're sitting back there patient.
Can we swear now that all the big wigs are gone?
You can do whatever you need to do.
Too
Whatever
formal.
works for you, Tom.
All right,
Smoke it, you got him.
That's it.
as long as I get the truck, they don't.
Now, there's operational enhancements coming along.
Yes.
Tours?
Very well.
We haven't got a tour of the station yet. You know, Steve. and
I haven't got
Fred.
a toy.
Anytime. You know, whenever you guys have time, if you want the run-through of the building, it's coming along pretty good right now. They're sheet rocking, the painters, they just signed in with a new painter. Painter should be there
Next
Friday?
week? Friday.
No, either Thursday or Friday. the new
What's your
painters will be
ETA
there.
at this point?
January 19th.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
ish,
So 3 months.
you know? Could be the second week,
Next
could be
year.
the third week. There's some things that are
Yeah.
coming together that,
They've had a productive October.
yeah, it
Yeah,
it
good
may be the
weather,
first or
too.
second week of January. But it will be in January. Right now, they're saying first substantial completion to be on January 14th, 15th, whatever that.
I stopped by last Thursday, and the deputy was kind enough to take me on a nickel tour, and
I don't get lost anymore, so you're lucked out. I took Fred, we couldn't find my way out.
We couldn't find our way out of the place.
but one thing I found very interesting that Tom mentioned to me, and, you know, correct me if I get this incorrect, but we were standing in the foyer where the you know, the public will be coming in, and he said, you know, this is where the public comes in. We get 3 to 5 visits a day for blood pressure, to take blood pressure, and then you give vaccinations also?
I was saying that that room we designed we now have a private, if somebody comes in with a medical or whatever, we can take them into a room that's set up for privacy. But we'll have the ability to do vaccinations, because now it's compliant for ADA, whereas before we couldn't do anything like that there. And that's the biggest difference now, is it's compliant, so things that, if you worked with the Neshoba Boards of Health and said, hey, let's do the clinic at the fire station, because if need be, people could drive it, and you could vaccinate them. If they had issue getting out of the car, we could do it in there, just things like that. It opens up a much bigger opportunity for us to invite the public in, because now they can get in. Right?
I attended a seminar for the New England Society of Healthcare Strategy last Friday, and they were talking about all these urgent care facilities and whatnot, and I happened to mention that you guys do a certain level of, care for people that walk in off the street, and nobody in the room had any idea that, you can get that kind of, any kind of service walking into a fire station.
It happens on a daily
Got
basis.
ambulances and-
Any fire station in
Medics.
almost every town, people are coming in on a daily basis for blood pressure checks. Sometimes it's for glucose checks, to check their blood sugar.
Do you advertise that, or, how do people know that?
Through council on aging, luncheons, things like that. The guys try to be here every Thursday when they do their lunches and
Okay.
do blood pressure and glucose checks then. We do advertise some of the things. We get grant money for things like the senior safe, where we do the smoke detectors, the smoke carbon monoxide detectors. That doesn't cost anything for seniors. So there's a lot of things that we.
I guess I'm eligible, huh?
Yeah.
At your age, yeah.
Just got a call.
Memory loss issues when you're sitting in the audience, and all those kind of things.
We can bring you somewhere.
I don't know.
I was just, I got a tour of the old fire station way back when, a year or two ago, whenever that was. And I was same thing, I was blown away by all the stuff that they do that I had no idea.
Yeah.
That they were part of the community stuff. Yeah, and Tom, you've talked about this before, about how just going forward, that you just envision that the whole community health stuff, it's gonna change,
It should,
right?
yeah.
Oh, absolutely it
Stuff,
is.
right?
It's one way or the other, it's gonna
Right,
change.
right.
We had a meeting last night with the Neshoba Valley Medical Center, because they're now our medical control facility. And the CEO came in, or the president of Neshoba Valley, and it was interesting, because he believes that urgent care is gonna become like McDonald's. There's gonna be too many of them, and they're gonna start to close. That they're opening up like Jack in the Box everywhere, and I don't know, I think there's still people that look at going to, I know we're off track here, but welcome to his world, that you end up with, I don't wanna go to the emergency room and sit there, the emergency room's gonna be this much money, and, so when you, like, this bothers me, but I don't wanna go there, because your doctor's saying, go there, I can't see you for 3 weeks, that the urgent care, if you haven't been to one up at the point, it is an option. We have transported people out of it and who didn't think they had an acute illness, and when they went in there, they were like, ooh, yeah, you do. So, healthcare's there's no, right now, you can't put your finger on where it's going, but there is gonna be, the population's gonna dictate that more care is gonna be needed.
Yeah, I've been.
Not for any of us, because we're not getting
I've been to the
old.
one in Westford, the Circle Health.
Yeah.
In and out, they do everything right there on the spot. It was very efficient, very quick, and taking care of business, so I kind of liked it.
Yeah, and that is one of the nice functions of the station, is that we actually have a small office that's pretty much set up like a doctor's office. We'll have it like a doctor's bed in there and medical supplies in that room, and they're out of the view of the public. So we can deal with somebody that has an issue, and if we need to transport them, we'll take them right out, obviously. But-
As opposed to the old kitchen. Everything gets done in the kitchen.
Right, everything.
Fire prevention, everything gets done in the kitchen. Hey, come into our conference room. This looks like a kitchen. It is a kitchen.
Oh, boy, we're circling the drain now.
It's gonna be the nice thing about having a facility that has a right place for the right thing, Everything will has a place to be done.
And you're gonna have your meetings there now, right?
I don't know about our meetings, but maybe joint meetings we'll have there.
Oh, no.
You can have yours there.
There.
Really? That's better?
Yeah.
All right, well, we need to
Same
do that.
capacity, it's
Sure.
all set up on cable,
Curate
LCTV.
machine, yeah.
They got bigger TVs.
Bird machine, Alan's there.
There's gonna be good stuff there. Better than this.
Get our blood pressure
There it is.
check.
There we go, blood pressure check over there, yeah.
Frank gets all worked up about some of the
Take it
finances.
before and after.
Yeah, we do. We can have continuous monitoring.
We're definitely trying to make the FinCom fun, I guess. We're kind of succeeding at that. All right, let me move along here. Any other member updates? Anybody? Anything to add? Nothing? I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from 10:3. That was the only one we had outstanding.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? You guys have it. Yeah, as far as I know, everything online has been updated. I talked to Diane about that, we were communicating with her, because we're a little behind in getting our minutes updated, so I think we're in good shape there. Yeah. Okay, motion to adjourn?
Just
Whoa.
before we do that, that little handout is worth $4 million. So, just,
The suggestions on the.
all suggestions list is $4 million.
Well, they're a quarter of it back there.
No, they aren't.
Well,
The fire truck?
1.25 million, so it's 4 million total.
Well, I wasn't giving them that much.
All right. On that note, I motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, good night, folks.
Hit the switch.